Welcome, friends, to the July 13th meeting of the Rotary Club of Florida. I'm Jim West, owner, producer, Census Productions, and president of the club, and the Paul Harris Fellow. To provide our invitation is Mindy Caldwell, Vice President and CPA, Marlene Szymanski and Company, EFP, Sustaining Member, and Paul Harris Fellow.
Keep in mind the prayer of St. Census of the 50th about our daily lives. Make me an instrument of peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, let me harmony. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant me that I may not so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as understanding, to be loved as love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. Let us pray. Creator and sustainer of all that is or will be, give us thanks for this day and all its blessings. We ask that you guide us and direct our growth, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to Rotary, to our community, to our country, even to all of us. What it is. Bless our fellowship today, bless the food and the nourishment of our body, the preparedness and the serving. Your service.
Hired chief credit officer and he's a good man to have known. And he is a friend of mine. And he's interested in education.
President with Louisville Paving and Construction Company. My guest today is Aaron Johnson. He is a project manager with our site division.
My name is Dee Tran from Louisville Institute of Technology. I would like to welcome my guest, Clark Cox, a board member of the New American Business Association, and so Ray Woodley. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Jean and Rotarians. I'd like to introduce Rebecca Damone. This is Rebecca. She's here from the Louisville Seminary. Thank you. Yes, if you would like to learn more about our club, please stay up there meeting for a brief "What is Rotary" session with Craig Sherman. Where's Craig? Craig, here you go. All right, we'll do it again after the meeting, and we'll do "What is Rotary." Now, if you notice, there is on your table a QR code. What this means is that you can actually register today for next week's meeting. Yeah. So just a reminder, a reminder that all of our meetings here from now on, unless there is another search, are in person. So we're going to be meeting here every week in person. So now that you have your QR code, use your phone, scan in there, and go ahead and make reservations for you and your guests now. We had a little leadership retreat last week at Baxter Avenue Theaters. And we had our members of the board, our officers, and committee members and co-chairs at the meeting. And it was very productive and very fun. If you've not been to Baxter Avenue Theaters, I highly recommend it. It's in the Highlands, Mid City Hall, lovely little theater. But we were able to go through our goals, our missions. We looked at our budget and some of the projects that we are aiming to do this year. So you will all get that information. If last week, if you didn't get a notice from me, a message, I'm going to try to send out a message each week to our members. You know, I'm a communicator, so I'm in the business of communicating. So I want you to know what's going on in your club. So look for the documents and things that came out of that retreat. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, concerns, please let us know. Now, I want to say we do appreciate your feedback. But can we do it with grace? Please remember that we are transitioning through all kinds of challenges. And our team's working very, very hard to make everything work. So we really do encourage your constructive feedback with grace. Thank you. Also, what I wanted to do is at the meetings, we premiered our welcome video. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. There was one on the website for a while, but we updated it and it's now available for you. It's going to be on our website, our Facebook page. If you are going out to speak to a group about Rotary, you are welcome to put this on a flash drive and take it with you because it explains what we do, who we are, and what we are about. Let's roll them, Alyssa.
Louisville leaders connecting for good. Helping to eradicate polio, mentoring, feeding the hungry, helping the homeless, honoring unsung heroes, funding a Promise Scholarship Program, challenging all members to be truthful, fair, build goodwill, and benefit all, welcoming speakers who inspire and inform. Just like this Louisville knot connects the 9th Street divide, our club is bringing together members from all industries and sectors. It's a reflection of Louisville. Our members include men and women, people of color, and business and nonprofit leaders. And just like the Louisville knot connects our community, this bridge connects Kentucky and Indiana. Our members come from both sides of the Ohio River.
We are an engaged membership, and it's an engagement that doesn't come out of obligation. It comes out of a heart-first mentality or attitude. Rotary is so strong at getting real problems solved. We get things done, and our community is better for it.
Serving people who are vulnerable and living in under-resourced areas in our own community and abroad.
And when we talk about the future of the healthcare economy,
my favorite topic, urbanomics.
Our updated hybrid in-person and virtual meeting format.
And now, so keep that in mind, University of Louisville.
It's a great place to be every week. The ability to find some fellowship, to find some friends.
Connections with the best of the best leaders in our community who are connecting for good. They're not just meeting to make themselves better, although that's wonderful to have networking, but to make our world better.
Join us at LouisvilleRotary.org to learn more about Louisville's premier fellowship of business, professional, and civic leaders.
Thanks, you guys. Congratulations. I want to thank Ashley Brower, Kevin, and Chris for putting this all together. They did a great job. Okay. And now, to introduce our speaker is Dee Taylor.
Good afternoon, and shout out to everyone who got the pink memo. I'm Delene Taylor, a relatively new member of Rotary and the chair of the Speakers Committee. So happy to be here and happy to introduce two great speakers today. Jeff O'Brien is the co-chief of Louisville Forward and director of Develop Louisville for the Louisville Metro government. He has nearly 20 years of experience with local planning agencies in Kentucky and Illinois and has led several major strategic and long-range initiatives for Louisville, including Vision Louisville, Move Louisville, and Plan 2040. Jeff earned a bachelor's degree in geography and a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Iowa. He is a member of the American Planning Association, the American Institute of Certified Planners, and the Urban Land Institute. Welcome, Jeff. Keith Talley Sr. is the Mayor's Strategic Operations Officer focusing on the American Rescue Plan. He served for over 7 years as director of the Louisville Metro Air Pollution District, the agency which is responsible for implementing the EPA's Clean Air Act and local clean air initiatives. Prior to that, he was the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Financial Institutions for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And before beginning his government career, Keith spent 18 years in banking, focused on small business development, affordable housing, and economic development. He has taught small business startup classes and participated in numerous community development seminars and training events. He also serves on several nonprofit boards, including the American Red Cross, the Ronald McDonald House, the Coalition for the Homeless, the Metropolitan Housing Coalition, and Louisville Central Community Centers. He's a 1990 Black Achievers, a 1999 Leadership Louisville graduate, and in 2007 received the Recognition of Outstanding Community Service Louisville Metro Council Black History Celebration Award. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics with a minor in interdisciplinary study of African history from Northwestern University. Welcome, Keith.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you all for having both Keith and I today. We're going to talk a little bit about the American Rescue Plan and what it means for Louisville, Kentucky, and just give you a little bit of a general overview of what we've done to prepare for this historic rescue plan. So we're going to tag team it a little bit today. I'm going to give a little bit of an introductory piece on the American Rescue Plan, and then Keith's going to talk about where we actually are today, and we're of course happy to take any questions that you all have as we're going through this. Okay, you'll have to excuse me a little bit. I'm usually much more tech savvy when I do these things, but this is the second time that I've been live in person speaking out. So I very much appreciate that. First the Zoom boxes, and I hope all you in Zoom can hear us okay. Okay, the American Rescue Plan, what is it and what is it, what does it entail? So first and foremost, I think all you probably know this is President Biden's initiative and our COVID relief stimulus package for the entire country. The total package is $1.85 trillion. And I think what it really gets down to and what the real brass tacks is here for Louisville, Kentucky is the city county fiscal relief fund, which is the $388 million that we've been talking about since March of this year when that was announced. Now, some of you may remember when that was originally announced, it was $435 million, and I'm sure everybody's wondering why is the city getting less money. The reason is there were some entitlement entities across the United States that were missed in the initial estimates, and so it was nothing that Louisville did, or we were on a naughty list or anything. All the amounts were down for the cities and counties across the United States. So that is the reason why we're at $380 million. Still a lot of money for the city, a big influx of money that's coming in. I promise I'll get this right here on the next slide. Okay, so I just kind of want to put this in perspective. Again, this is a bigger package that is out in the country right now. It's not just the $388 million. There's a lot of money that's going to individuals, like for any of you that have opted into the taking your child tax credit up front, which at the end of the year, those have started rolling out. So that's a big part of it. There's a lot of individual relief coming. So this is kind of showing you a breakdown of where these funds are going. And some of it is going to come to the Louisville Metro, some of it's come to some other agencies, some of it's going to individuals directly. So it's really important to understand that there's a lot of funds out there, and some of it is not necessarily going to come directly to Metro government. There will be some competitive grants that come to the city and some formula grants. So for example, a few weeks ago it was announced by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, better notified, Louisville is going to get $11.5 million in home funds, which are specifically for affordable housing and helping house people that are currently without housing. So those are some examples of what we're going to see. We do expect to get some more of that formula, some of those formula funds as we go throughout the year, and there will also be more competitive grant opportunities. The other piece that's not up here on the screen is, of course, there's still an infrastructure bill that's being discussed, and the reauthorization of the federal transportation bill. There will be some dollars that also come through those. Many of you have seen the announcement from Congressman Yarmouth. The city and state are getting about $19 million dedicated to Louisville for transportation projects. So we have a 9th Street project. We're going to fix the ramp at Brook and Jefferson Street. We're going to fix sidewalks across the community. So some other examples of things that we already expect to be flowing into the city that are outside of that $388 million. So the bottom line is this is a big package for our city and a big opportunity for us to move our city forward. That said, this was billed as a very flexible spending package. But it comes along with strings. All federal dollars, for those of you that are familiar with federal dollars, come with strings. And we have some guidance that was released in May of this year. The guidance is really focusing heavily on a number of areas. So a couple areas I want to point out here. Housing, workforce development, direct cash aid to residents, public health, of course. Infrastructure is limited in the $388 million to water and sewer infrastructure and broadband infrastructure. So the other thing is I've got these purple census tracts colored up here on the screen. These are our qualified census tracts. These are our low and moderate income census tracts we have across our community. And why that's important is that is where we will have the most flexibility in spending these dollars. Going directly into those census tracts or directly aiding residents who reside in those census tracts. So it's important to keep in mind. I will say with the first with housing, it's not necessarily that we need more affordable housing in our qualified census tracts. We have a lot of subsidized housing already in the west neighborhoods and the near south neighborhoods. So we really have seen this as a challenge for us. How are we going to spread that housing dollar across the community? So just You probably heard Mayor Fisher talk about this, but we have a need for 31,000 affordable housing units for low and no income residents. We don't necessarily need them in the west and south end. So that's just something that some of the challenges that we're seeing. Now that the guidance is also is coming with some heavy reporting requirements that we're currently working through. I will note that these are interim guidance from the federal government. So we expect these are changing on a weekly basis for us. And so our ARP team, who is led by Margaret Handmaker, that team is watching that guidance along with our Office of Management and Budget, who are really helping guide us through what the reporting requirements are and how we are going to best deploy these funds across the community and not make it too difficult for people to access those dollars. So I'm gonna turn it over to Keith, because that's all the background, but I really want to turn it over to Keith to talk about where we are in our process and what the next steps are going to be. So Keith, you want to take it away?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. And so we'll do our best here to bring you up to date and up to speed as to where we are right now. So I have to start out by saying, so I get a call from Deputy Mayor Ellen Heston, said, "We got $388 million. Come on over and help us spend it." Sounds like a great deal, right? Trust me, more work than anybody. And so we've had to grow in this process as we've gotten the guidance, as we started to learn what's going to be involved in this process. And so when it first started, it was me, and we thought that'll be great. Keith can handle this. And we soon realized we needed to put together a team. And so Margaret Handmaker has come over to run the Louisville Accelerator team. Ken Hillebrand is the Deputy Director of the Accelerator team. And then I have my part. But trust me when I tell you, we then pull in Jeff and anybody else in Metro that we think can help us through this process. And so we put that team together. So a couple of things that we're working on. We realize that we have some capacity issues, some resource issues in helping implement these funds and walk folks and proposers through this project. So we're in the process of hiring project managers. That market is tight. So if you know anyone out there, seriously, who is a project manager or a PMP, and they'd like to come give us a hand, tell them to give me a call, because we are desperately seeking folks to put in place for that. And we are looking to put people on the Metro staff, and then we're also willing to hire contractors. So if you know anyone, we are looking for folks to help with that. And so that top box there, we are the team that's trying to put this together. I will point out now, we are working very closely with Metro Council in this, because ultimately Metro Council, like with any budget with Metro, has the final approval of where these dollars go. And so we realized early on that we had to be on the same page and on the same team as Metro Council. And where we are now, as you can see by the note there, we're in the priority setting phase. And so as we look at this, we have $388 million. There is a host of projects and needs in our community, and that is not enough money to address all of them. And so, Jeff, what is the figure on housing? If we wanted to just $5 billion just to put in place all of the additional housing that we think we need in our community. And so probably $2 billion in infrastructure needs for deferred maintenance. So 388 million is a lot of money. It's not enough money. And so you have to set priorities. You have to understand what the needs are. And so we had budget meeting this past Tuesday. If you're interested, you can go on council's webpage and look at the archive footage. I think it's interesting to see council's discussion about this. And so what we offered to them were 7 pretty broad buckets. And we made them broad so that we could kind of accommodate all of the projects that are coming in. And the discussion Tuesday was, well, maybe we don't need 7, maybe we should do 2 or 3 really big buckets and make some transformational change. And so that's really the discussion that's going on right now. And so as this process plays out, those priorities are set. We will issue RFPs for those particular priorities, and we'll allow folks in the community and entities in the community to submit proposals. We're putting together what has turned out to be a very complicated scoring matrix, because we want this to be fair. We want it to be equitable. And so it makes it really difficult. Jeff mentioned the compliance requirements for these funds are, according to the folks at OMB, the most stringent they have ever seen. And so that's going to make it really difficult for some of our small nonprofits, smaller entities out in the community to submit proposals and then be able to comply. So that's an issue. So we're working through that, and in terms of the scoring, we want to make sure that we don't score it in a way that hurts those entities. By the same token, we want to get with the larger entities because we want to leverage those funds. We want to work with entities that can leverage those dollars, bring additional dollars to the table, who have the capacity to comply with the requirements that are going to follow this program. And so it's really difficult to get a scoring matrix that's going to accomplish both of those things. So we're currently working on that. We intend to follow as closely as possible all of these projects. As Margaret and I have spoken continuously now for the last couple of months, we are about making sure these projects are successful. And so we're going to follow them weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever we think that need is. If there's a problem, if there's an obstacle, we want to be able to catch those early and not to stop the project, but to help make it successful. So that is our goal. Whatever decisions are made, whatever proposals are approved, we're going to work really hard to make sure that they are successful. Because we've said it 1,000 times, members of the council have said it 1,000 times. 5 years from now, we do not want to look back and go, where did $388 million go? We want to make sure that we have done some things that we can look back and say, that was a great project. It continues to provide benefit to our community. And those are the types of transformational projects that we're looking for. Well,
It's all right, I'll get you back.
and the next.
There you go.
So to further bring you up to date, we were trying to get these in early, and so we wanted to meet the 7/1 deadline for the fiscal year for Metro. And so we had some projects that we wanted to take a look at, and we decided we wanted to do those things that everybody could have consensus on, were an immediate need and would provide immediate impact. And so out of that 388 million, we have appropriated about 30.1 million, and that is focused on continued COVID relief. COVID is not gone, folks, and so we want to make sure our health department is prepared to deal with if there's a fall surge, if there's some issues with the variants that are out there. So we have funding for that. We also wanted to make sure that we were covering some of those immediate impacts from COVID related to housing stability. So some utility assistance to make sure we can keep folks in their homes. Some additional work with food insecurity, and so some money for that, and then some assistance for downtown in summer. I take a walk every day, and so I'm amazed at the number of tourists and folks that are coming back, number of citizens that are coming back downtown. And so some money in there for the ambassador program, so we can appropriately welcome folks back downtown after a year of being shut in. And so we had initial money in there for that for about 30 million. And, you know, as I mentioned, we are working closely with council. Again, take a look. It's worth taking a look at that Tuesday council meeting. I think it'll give you some insight in terms of what folks are thinking. Let me try this one more time. So we are still in that data collection process. And so there's opportunities for folks to submit ideas and suggestions and your thoughts on this online, and the web link is up there. There's a survey, and anyone in the community can get on there and tell us what they think we need to do with this money, what they think the priorities are for our community. And that's going to be really helpful. I think as about noon the other day, I think Tuesday, we had about 597 submissions on that survey. So we're getting a lot of input from the community. But in addition to that, Metro Council is going to have several community meetings over the next couple of weeks. And so the first one is this Saturday. It'll be at Shelbyhurst campus, the Founders Union building, from 11 to 1 a.m. These are open to the public. And again, just an opportunity for the community to come in and voice their opinion. There's a second meeting scheduled for July 19th at the Southwest Regional Library. And then finally, a meeting on Monday, the 26th at the West Broadway Church of Christ. These are excellent opportunities for folks to voice their opinion. And we really need to hear that opinion. It's a lot of money. We want to be smart about it. And the priorities that we consider important as part of Metro government might not be the priorities that the community thinks are important. And so it's important to hear from folks out in the community about those things that they think are most important. So that's really where we are right now. A lot of work going on, a lot of meetings. And as we've been interviewing folks, and so I outlined to them what the job responsibilities are and what we're doing and where we're at. And then I always end with, but it will be different tomorrow. Because we get new guidance and we get new thoughts from folks. And so it's going to be a changing every day. And one thing that was not mentioned, so we only, of that 388 million, we only got half so far. And so we'll get the other half of that money. We don't have a firm date, but it'll be sometime late spring, early summer of next year. And so we're not going to ask for all these project proposals, depending on what those priority areas are, all at once. It would just be overwhelming for us to try to go through that and implement all of those. And so those will go out in stages. And so we're still thinking about how we're going to manage that second half. Because even if we take proposals now, a year from now, things could change dramatically, and the folks who put those proposals out, they need to change them. So we're going to think about how we do that second half of the money so that we can get up-to-date proposals from folks for the things that we're looking at. Jeff and I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you both, Jeff and Keith. We're going to do a little chat. So we're doing, if you have a question, there's a mic there. Feel free to head up there and ask a question. So how much money did we get already?
190 million-ish.
I mean, we got half of that.
No, we got half of 388, so we received 190 million. And I went to planning school, not economics, so I'm not a mathematician up here. I suppose that would be $194 million. I get that right. Yeah, came in May.
And so the rest of it comes next year.
Yes.
Okay. So there are millions and millions of dollars poured into programs, et cetera. How do we get this money to the people who actually need it?
And so that's part of the process we're in, is trying to determine what those priorities are. Again, there's a lot of need out there in the community. We cannot do everything. And so those priorities are going to be important in terms of making sure we get that money where we think it will do the most good. And that's the process we're in right now.
What's the oversight mechanism? I mean, who's going to be responsible for making sure that the money gets to where it's supposed to go?
So that's a great question. Just to kind of go back to what Keith said, then I'll go to your question, Gene, is that as Keith alluded to, the reporting guidance on this is very stringent, more stringent than we see for our standard federal pots of money. So if I could recommend three things for anybody that is considering making a proposal to Metro government, my three things would be: find good partners, find strong partners, try to leverage existing projects or existing funds, and then finally think about sustainability in the community. These dollars are going to have to be expended by 2024, 2026, depending on what the project is. So those are my three keys to as you're thinking about putting dollars forward. In terms of oversight, the Metro Council is going to be our accountability measure to the public. They are the ones that have to appropriate the dollars. We will have to go back and answer to them on projects and project status. We of course have our federal and local oversights where we have to do our actual reporting and tell the federal government, here are the metrics that we're proposing, here are the things that we've hit or not hit. So those are the things that we're looking for. And as Keith alluded to, we are going to have many project managers on staff that are going to help handhold and make sure that project sponsors are meeting the requirements and hitting the metrics that they promised as part of that project.
Larry?
Yes, I'm Larry Sloan, and we've done a lot of work on trying to figure out what can be done to improve both education and health delivery in the underserved areas of Louisville. For instance, we learned that the zip code that Shawnee is in is the lowest lifespan in the county by 12 years compared. So how do we figure out what the right things are to improve, first of all, the health delivery in the areas that need it? And then secondly, how do we improve some of the educational facilities? Is this money usable for the school system to improve the facilities that they have in those areas?
So a couple of things. JCPS actually got their own slug of money, and I think it was near 400 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so they have a lot of this art money that they can use to address some of those issues. And so we're reaching out to them. We're working closely with them to make sure, one, that there's no duplication and that we get some synergy in terms of the project that we ultimately end up doing. In terms of the disparity in life expectancy, I mean, I came from the Air Pollution Control District, so every meeting I went to, I heard that statistic. It's not all about air quality. And so what I would propose to you is that a lot of the reason we have that disparity are for a host of reasons. It's about substandard housing. It's about inadequate education. It's about access to medical care. It's about gun violence. It's about a lot of different things. And so hopefully all of the things that we do to address homelessness, to address improving housing conditions and so forth will improve that statistic, because that disparity is not the result of just one thing. That disparity is a result of systemic and historic disadvantages in many of those communities.
Fred.
Excuse me, yes, I'm Fred Cowan. And I guess for most of us looking at this and looking at this money, we're probably not terribly aware of some of the needs of the lower income folks in our community. Most of us come from fairly well-off backgrounds probably, and made through the pandemic, which is not yet over, as we know, but made it through reasonably well. But I think a lot of people in this room, and maybe a lot of other places, are concerned about two areas of the community. One is our downtown generally, and we know in the last year and a half, 2 years, that downtown has been devastated by the pandemic, less people coming to work, you know, the results of demonstrations around Taylor and so forth. And secondly, this is directly attributable to the pandemic, is the tourism industry and what it means to this community, because we've always relied a lot on tourism, conventions and that sort of thing. So is any of this money going to be directed for those two problems, and if so, how?
So that's a great question, and thank you for asking that. We had as I think everybody may or may not know, but we had a downtown revitalization team that started in January and concluded last month. So that project was specifically looking at downtown and what do we need to do to bring downtown back. And so I think we are looking very closely at how we can bring the money back. We try, as Keith said, we did allocate some money for some community ambassadors focused downtown to try to take care of some of the street behavior issues and be more welcoming to visitors who we're seeing in the downtown. But we are very hopeful that in the next round of money, we will be able to use some of those dollars to help improve downtown, whether it's directly assisting businesses, assisting tourism to bring tourists back downtown, or to make some improvements to some of our open spaces. And the other big piece of that, and I'll just go ahead and say it because I think this is the elephant in the room if I don't, we are planning to use money to help address the chronic street homelessness that is happening downtown. I think Keith has referred to that. That is a critical issue downtown, and unfortunately, those populations that are around the I-65 underpasses, those are the toughest of our chronic street homeless population. They are the folks that are have substance abuse issues, have mental health issues, and we can't just move them into permanent housing. There's going to have to be an interim solution just because of the trauma that those individuals have faced. We have to try to find a way to get them back into their feet. When we see if we just move a person that is struggling with mental and substance abuse issues, we see that we put them in some sort of permanent supportive housing, they fail at that and they move out pretty quickly. So that is an issue that we are looking to address. It's not directly downtown investment, but I think it has a big impact on what visitors, residents, and workers see when they come into our downtown.
And I didn't mention it before, but we did not start from scratch. And so there's work that had been done in previous years with the Build Back Better Together initiative. There's community-based initiative, a lot of community input. And so we had all of those initiatives already kind of on the books for us to take a look at. And then there was the Path Forward initiative that had 50 or 60 different individuals and entities involved in talking about how we address some of our disadvantaged neighborhoods. And so we're not starting from scratch. We kind of know what some of the issues are, some of the priorities are, and those really were the building blocks for us to take a look at how to implement these funds.
Thank you, Madam President. And Keith, Jeff, thank you both. I want to talk to both. I know it's not easy work, the work that you're doing to implement this funding. And I know that, 388 billion sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But, when you look at it from a community needs standpoint, we probably need 10 times that to address all of the needs. So prioritizing the work, I know can't be easy. But I'd like to try to appeal to you to make the case for early child development as a provider at the Global Central Community Center. Early child development, and I'm talking specifically about a population of our community birth to 5 years of age, is certainly underfunded. When we talk about K-12 education, in my mind, it's a fully funded system. Whatever the outcomes are, it's not because of funding. Post-secondary, likewise, is fully funded. And whatever the outcomes are, not because of lack of funding, but early child development is missing support. So I guess the question, first question is, how do we make the case as a community that we need to have a stronger investment in early child development? And I'm like Jeff, I'm an urban planner. And from an urban planning standpoint, these windfalls that sometimes come once in a generation have to have the kind of impact that serves generations to come. And so it's not about addressing just immediate need, but setting a trajectory for the kids to come. So how do we make the case that we need a stronger case to be made for investing in early child development, and what are the avenues for that?
Well, the first thing you can do, great question, is to take advantage of that survey and be as eloquent as you have been today in terms of that need. I reach out to our council folks in those particular areas and express that same need in terms of making it one of the priorities. And personally, I cannot agree with you more. I'm also working with the Gun Violence Intervention Program with the city, and our youth are the feeders for that program. The kids that we see that are in trouble, that our youth are the ones feeding that pipeline of folks that we deal with on a daily basis. And so the only way to stop that is to intercede at that early age, because the truth is, once they get to a certain point, they just end up in the system. And so we got to prevent them from getting into the system if we really want to put a dent in the gun violence. So I could personally agree with you more.
And Kevin, I will say that we have a whole city approach to our violence issue. And I think that what Keith said there is spot on. We had our budget cuts in 2019. One of the first things that the police department said was, if you cut funding for community centers, if you cut funding for youth development, we are going to end up with violence problems in the immediate future. And that's exactly what has happened here. So we couple that with the disengagement of the pandemic created and the tragedy around Breonna Taylor, that has just really been a stimulant here. So we are looking as part of our public safety initiatives and our public health initiatives, quite frankly, in youth development. And that early childhood development is so critical. And just like we talk about housing first strategies, that childhood development is part of those early intervention strategies to make sure we're giving people the tools they need to be successful as they grow up.
Thank you. And I just have one more question. I noticed on the priority list that you've already touched on the violence issue that we're all concerned about is on the list of priority. And because of that, we know that Mayor Fisher, his budget has made a commitment to the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods to quadruple that budget from $5 million to $20 million a year. And that's ahead of this ARP. So I guess my question is, how much more are we looking to go toward that issue with the ARP?
Yeah, it's really just something we're taking a look at. You know, the federal government, President Biden came out, made a strong push for communities to address gun violence across the country. And so we are in constant contact with other communities across the country. We're looking for best practices. I must read literally 100 pages a day just on information that's out there, how other cities are addressing this, what are the latest thoughts and terms. And so we're going to try to be really thoughtful about how we put that money out there in terms to address gun violence in our community. But that money is available, and I have my hand on a little piece of it, hopefully to address whatever needs to be uncovered and whatever program we can institute to address it.
Thank you. Next question, Tracy.
Jeff, you said you weren't an economist, but you did some pretty good quick math in your head. So let me see if I understand the numbers right. We've got about 190 million already received. We've allocated 30, but not all that's going out, obviously. And I realize that money will be going out over time, but does the city have some policy that either requires that money be invested somehow or not invested somehow? I mean, 190 million, you know, at 1%, you know, is almost $2 million in a year. So I'm just wondering what happens with that kind of money.
Yeah, so it goes in our accounts, and we earn a small interest on it, but we have a duty to spend the money per the federal guidelines. So we're not able to put it in like a CD. And I am not a banker, so I will tell you, and I don't control the Metro checking accounts. So we do put them in interest earning accounts, but given it's federal dollars, you know, I think there are some challenges in how we use that interest, or can we reinvest that interest with the federal programs or investing it locally. And again, given the ARP guidance around and reporting guidance here, it's a little bit different than our normal federal dollars we see. So I'm going to be a little bit cagey on that, because it's I'm not the person that's I could read the FAQs in the 150-page guidance document, but getting into the CAFR, which is like that, is going to be beyond my attention span, unfortunately.
Above your pay grade, that's what you're saying.
No, beyond not above my pay grade, but beyond my attention span. My weakness, so.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. I thought it was interesting you mentioned JCPS got funding as well, which is wonderful. So it made me think, are there other organizations in the city who are getting funding? And if so, are you allowed to pool those funds together? And what's the reporting and how does that work? And
that's what I said at the top there about leveraging dollars. We are looking for those opportunities to leverage dollars. So the city of Philadelphia, for example, is the city and the school district are pooling dollars together to improve the city's school district buildings, is to the extent that they can. Now, our civic and county relief funds are challenged for infrastructure dollars, but where we have an opportunity to partner, those things are allowed. We do expect that any agency that receives federal money, so I know Mr. Barker's in the room, TARC is receiving money. We expect the MSD and the water company will receive money through an infrastructure package. So really, how can we leverage? I'll be a little bit selfish here and take our 9th Street project that we're going to receive some federal dollars for. If we could that and pair that with some green infrastructure that MSD has or doing water line upgrades, that would be the time to do it. So there's an opportunity, instead of making, say, a $20 million investment in a right of way, maybe you're making a $50 or $100 million investment in upgrading the infrastructure too, so that you're not running into these situations that we have on Broadway where we're constantly seeing sewer escapement. So that's the sort of thing that we are looking for, those opportunities. We actively have a list of capital projects where we know things, where we know we have a friendly collision of issues coming together and be pooled.
Thank you both so much, Keith and Jeff. We'll be keeping an eye on your work. Appreciate you. And if you want to learn more about Rotary, you both make great Rotarians. It's Craig Sherman way in the back. Wait, Craig. There you go. That's the What is Rotary table back there. All right. Could I please have Tawana Bain, Laurie Barninger, and Julie Johnson please join me on the stage. As CEO, Tawana Bain manages business development, market research initiatives, and strategic direction of the firm. Tawana has 20+ years of experience in business outsourcing, marketing strategy, and corporate social responsibility. She's a graduate of Brockport University, holds a BA in French communications with a minor concentration in computer science. She's a member of the Speakers Committee, the Steamboat Service Project Committee, and she's the proud mom of 2 handsome and talented men, Tyshawn and Jeff, and 2 furry companions, Buster Rhymes and Biggie Smalls. Tawana's sponsors are Gene West and Mike Richardson. Laurie Barninger. Laurie is the head of the DePaul School on Duker Street. She comes to us replacing our wonderful Tony Kipper, who has resigned. Yes, she has been a lifelong educator with an affinity for giving every child just what they need. Laurie enjoys traveling around the world, exploring nature, being a mom to her grown children, and making a difference. Her childhood was full of farming, and she loves growing plants, both the pretty ones and those we eat. She's new to Louisville, looks forward to enjoying the many facets of our beautiful city and its people. Lori's sponsors are Danny Kemper and Jay Mallory. Julie Johnson is an attorney practicing family law with her firm Johnson, Cook, Abbott, and Ahearns LLC. She and her husband have 5 daughters together, ranging in age from 16 to 27. She is also the proud mom of 2 rescue dogs, a one-eyed cat, and 8 goldfish. Julie's passions, in addition to her family work, are social justice. She recently started a nonprofit organization called Book the Spot Inc., whose mission is to give away gently used and new books primarily to children and teenagers. Her sponsors are Laurie, how come it's not in the script? Very slow, and it's your sponsor. Thank you so much. These are our new members. Thank you so much, and welcome to the club. I have already put Tawana to work. You two, just wait. I'll be putting you to work too. Thank you so much. Please meet me. Will all Paul Harris Fellows please stand, and will Mike Cole come to the podium to make some Paul Harris Pin presentations. Mike is retired food service executive, chair of the Rotary Foundation Annual Fund, past district governor, past president, recipient of the Lifetime Service Award, a Paul Harris Fellow, and a charter member for the 1912 Society.
Paul Harris Fellow recognition is given in appreciation to anyone who contributes outright or cumulatively a gift of $1,000 or more to the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. Multiple Paul Harris Fellow recognition is extended at subsequent $1,000 levels. Today with me is Carl Thomas. Carl's retired executive director of the Dean's Foundation. He's a member of the 1912 Society and will be receiving his Paul Harris +3 pin today. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Michael Carl. Thank you for your contributions to the Rotary Foundation. Now, Mark Worms, Executive Director, Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest, will provide today's announcements.
Thank you, President Jean. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. In-person meals are now back at the Recenter Ministries, and we will be serving on Wednesday, July 28th. All residents and employees at the Recenter have been vaccinated for COVID-19. Meat will be provided, but we need volunteers to bring the following items. 1 volunteer per item, please. Drinks, that means soft drinks in liter bottles or juice, bread rolls, salad, dessert. For some reason, fruit pies are always the big hit. Arrive at 5:30 for setup. Meals will be served at 6. We can sit with them, catch up with any that we may have known from previous events, or get to know some new residents we've not met before. Please, it's a great event if you haven't been to one. Our next business network meeting is on Tuesday, August 3rd at 5 p.m. Mike Richardson and the Glenview Trust Company will host us with food and beverages at the new headquarters on Highway 42 and provide a tour. There will be a brief talk with Bill Stone, Glenview Trust Company Chief Investment Officer and CNBC contributor. Bring your questions. Glenview Trust provides multifamily office services to 625 families and manages $18 billion in assets. What a great opportunity to bring a Rotary prospect and see a new gem in Louisville. On Saturday, August 7th, our club will cheer on Louisville City FC when they take on Sporting Kansas City 2 in the new stadium for Rotary Night at Lou City. Tickets for the game are $32 each. This is open to Rotarians, their family members, and friends, and seats are in section 220. Tickets are limited, so register on DAC-DB or call, email the Rotary office. Our next week's meeting will feature guest speaker and fellow Rotarian and Brigadier General Hal Lamberton, Adjunct General of the Kentucky National Guard. The title of his presentation is Your Kentucky National Guard. We appreciate your registering for attendance, and if you plan to have lunch in advance, using the link provided in the RSVP email that was sent out to the membership, or by scanning that QR code that's on your table. Make it easy on yourself. Please note that reservations do close on Friday at 4 p.m. This is a deadline that the restaurant sets, so please respond with your intentions. The meeting will also be available via Zoom. And finally, happy birthday to all Rotarians celebrating birthdays this week. We've got Chuck Roederer, July 15th, Doug James on July 17th, Mike Erler on July 18th, Barry Allen on July 19th, and Cliff Elgin on July 21st. Back to you, President Jean.
Thank you, Mark. And yeah. If you guys have not been to see the Giants at Burnham Forest, you need to do it. Actually, we're Delene and I, Speakers Committee, talking about doing a meeting there, like a field trip. Yeah, are you guys game for that? You guys are game for that? We're just trying to work that out, but it is amazing. And now there's the bird's nest that I need to, the spirit's nest that I need to go and see. It is truly magical. Okay, everybody. So now, Lady Sophia, where are you? Lady Sophia. It's time for a prize drawing. I hope you all put your business cards in there. Everybody's business card in there. Well, you're just gonna miss out. Angela Bailey. She went 2 weeks ago. Okay. Angela.
If it's good though, I want it back.
Switch. Ashley Brower. Ashley, there you are. Again, bring your kids to Rotary. All right, Rotarians, homework. Again, scan the QR codes on your tables to register for next week's meeting. Go to our Facebook page, like the Rotary Club on your Facebook page. And do what? And LinkedIn. LinkedIn. It's a good way to see what's going on in our club as well as seeing what's coming up. And you can share your posts on your page, a great way to introduce Rotary to your friends. And again, please join Greg Sherman in the back there for What is Rotary to learn more about our club and get your questions answered. Well, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful day. Go do good and have fun doing it. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, the new members and speakers, could you please come to the stage? We'd like a photograph.